Morning, Intuitives, and thank you for all the new subscribers that joined yesterday. I guess people kind of liked the video I put up yesterday. I never know how these are going to go. I just turn on the camera and start talking about something on my mind. It's not like I know what I'm doing, but I'm pretty honest of the fact that I'm just winging this. So, something that's been in my head since I made that video yesterday with, getting into the paradoxical nature of the INFJ personality and paradox. And I wonder why people don't understand us. Well, we have some contradictory traits as well, and I was thinking about them at work yesterday because it was slow. And, you know, I wasn't getting any phone service because sometimes that place is like a bunker. Sometimes I get service, sometimes I don't. So being on my phone wasn't an option and nothing else to do. So, being an INFJ, I retreated into my mind for deep thought time and overthinking. Yeah, real healthy. So, some of the stuff I was thinking about, some contradictory traits of the INFJ that you might find interesting, or agree or disagree with, are as follows. And please like and subscribe, help channel grow, help me, potentially help other people have some purpose in life other than pissing off old boys clubs, apparently, which I'm getting real good at. All right. So, number one, we find people both fascinating and exhausting. So, as introverts, we get easily exhausted from socializing and busyness, like, small talk and go along to get along. How's the weather? Ooh, how was your holiday? Eh, you know. But at the same time, we're fascinated by people who can hold a deep conversation with us, have common interests, understand us, and whom we can really relate to. We find that fascinating because it's very, very rare, but it's great when we can find it. So another one is we are very in tune with others' emotions, but don't really fully understand our own. So because of our intuition, because we're so observant, we can quickly grasp other people's moods and mental states, and often ascertain what they're going through. Sometimes it even freaks people out. INFJs at some point or another will usually always get asked if they have some type of clairvoyance or stuff. And it is kind of cool because NI is still not that well understand, and we don't understand how it works. We just have, we just subconsciously put the pieces of the puzzle together. And a lot of times, especially because we doubt ourselves, we're afraid to speak up, and then we're like, oh shit, we were right again. So that's a fun game. But paradoxically, INFJs may not readily grasp our own emotions. For some INFJs, our emotions feel like a complete separate thing, almost as if they belong to somebody else, and we have to overanalyze the hell out of it to understand why we feel the way we do. We can very, very much more easily understand why somebody else feels the way they do than rather than understand our own emotions, which is weird and contradictory and paradoxy. That's a word, because that's us. We like to think, number three is we like to think big thoughts, but we worry about small things, we like to think of the, deep questions of the universe and ponder them. As introverts, we like to ask those big questions. It's related to human nature, but as INFJs, we also find ourselves worrying about the mundane details of life, which we absolutely hate, like going to get an oil change, which is annoying as hell, or renewing your car registration, all those stupid mundane things. It's like we'd rather be doing anything else in the world than just putzing around with stupid things that don't like doing them at all. I did that yesterday at work too. I renewed my car registration, which I had been putting off for a week. We desire, an orderly and organized existence, and we have that crippling perfectionism at times, especially when it comes to our work, our appearance, and our behavior. Although we'd rather be pondering the mysteries of humanity and, other mysteries like cryptids. They're fun. My personal favorite, witchcraft. And we'd rather be thinking of things like that than worrying over typos and emails and, the day-to-day mundane things that there's nothing deep to. It's just monotonous and boring. Bad, stupid, boomerish. We are calm on the outside at times, but turbulent on the inside. I can, speak to this being in Chester County where I can pretend like I'm doing okay, but inside I'm like, this place is a cult. Where'd I put that Davy Crockett rocket launcher at? So, people that are INFJ tend to come across as calm and easygoing, some of the time when we're not in an NITI loop. Most people would never guess of how turbulent our inner world is, and it is. A lot of nosedives. Yeah, INFJs, we don't gradually decline like when it gets too much to bear on our shoulders. We don't gradually decline, we nosedive. This is because an INFJ tends to keep our emotions to ourselves or to a very select group of people we trust, which gets smaller as we get older. Because trust issues, we can put on a face that says everything's fine, or just a stoic, emotionless, robotic face. And this isn't limited to negative emotions. We're not really one to show our enthusiasm or make a big public display of happiness. The only thing, only the emotions that we show are really just the tip of the iceberg. And while we can often be happy for other people to get us to open up, like truly got to be one-on-one, we're not going to do it to a group. Having to talk in front of a group, and I don't mean like giving a speech on a topic that you know a lot about. I mean like talking about yourself in front of a group. It's like an interrogation. Number 5, we fight for others but struggle to stand up for ourselves. Yeah, this is a big one for me. So we're nicknamed the advocate, also the sage, the philosopher. INFJs see their mission in life as helping others. Oh yeah, big time. Yes, we will do charity work, rescue operations, which are awesome. Coolest job ever. Ladder trucks are like the coolest thing. They're cooler than planes. But I'm not allowed to play with them because old boys don't like me. And, we desire to getting to the root of an issue so people don't need rescuing at all, or we love teaching people to say no and stand up for themselves, empowering people, and, challenging the status quo. I told you this point was like my favorite of this video for obvious reasons. If you've watched my videos, this is kind of the core of my existence. Some of it by design, some of it, it's just how the hand of fate has led me. So, perhaps no other personality type is better suited to start a movement to right a social wrong. Again, great example, real life INFJ, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, they're among our ranks. That's pretty cool. Let's not talk about that Austrian guy. That's an unhealthy INFJ. Although we fight for others with strength and passion, paradoxically, INFJs will struggle speaking up for themselves, putting others' needs first, and often neglecting their own. This leads to burnout and exhaustion. ENFJs, pay attention, you do this too, and you're actually worse at standing up for yourselves. INFJs, we'll let ourselves get pushed around so long, and we'll get backed in a corner where we might even resort to violence to get out. Once an INFJ is pushed over the edge, that switch flips quick, and we can get real angry and ranty. And INFJ rage, I got to do a separate video on it, but it's terrifying. And we're not one to shy away from violence if it's necessary. The ENFJs, especially younger ones, struggle to say no real bad, and they'll just cry and go along with it because they're such people pleasers more than INFJs. INFJs, to an extent, don't care what people think. There's like our red lines, like integrity and all that, are non-negotiable, and you back us into a corner, would kind of just be like, fuck it, all is lost anyway, and let's burn the motherfucker down, kind of thing. Yeah, that. Told you I'd like that point. Number 6, INFJs are otherworldly and philosophical, yet craving sensual experiences. And when I was researching this point, I'm like, really? Sometimes INFJs feel disconnected from our surroundings because we're not so in our heads. It's not uncommon for INFJs to have an otherworldly, almost spiritual demeanor and appearance. Yeah, we're big in the esoterics and the mysteries of the universe and what could be and I want to believe kind of thing. INFJs can crave sensual experiences because they root us back to the earth. Such things as like, nature, plants. I like plants. I studied a lot of plant science. Quality craftsmanship and sophisticated art and music. We love finding out like the meaning behind art pieces or the deeper meaning behind music. INFJs can often have refined tastes due to our extroverted sensing function. This often clashes with our desire to live simply and shun materialism. Yeah, I definitely shun materialism. I mean, the whole struggle with that, like we crave quality over quantity kind of thing. We're not one to want things just to say, look at my stuff, like, look at all the stuff. Like we're very utilitarian in certain aspects. Like an INFJ, for example, who's single, will live in, say, like an 800 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment, but may have $30,000 worth of artwork on the wall, kind of thing. That would be the contradictory balance there. Or, may own like, $500 pair of handmade Italian boots, kind of thing, but would drive a beater car. Uh, you know, it can be contradictory, but that's an example. And we definitely shun the idea of like whoever dies with the most toys wins, that 1980s boomer greed is good, Gordon Gekko mentality. So number 7, we love the idea of spontaneity, but we like things planned out. So a spur of the moment vacation, driving with no destination in mind, an unplanned adventure, these things sound good, to an idealistic, especially young INFJ that may have those things romanticized in our mind, but rarely are we truly spontaneous and reckless, even less often. Even when it seems like we're acting spontaneously, we're probably not. It's probably one of like 1,000 different scenarios we've planned out in our head, and it's like, oh, it's going this way. I have prepared for that plan, N37D. All right, activate. So, in that sense, aspects of spontaneity, perhaps, whereas maybe we set up like a loose plan of what could possibly happen and, 10 more to plan for practically every way a certain scenario could play out. But, as far as just fly by the seat of our pants, shoot from the hip, yeah, not so much. So we're both creative and analytical. Yep. N-I-G-I. And when they loop, that's bad. All right, as gifted communicators and perceptive observers, INFJs are drawn to writing, music, the arts, and other creative endeavors. Archaeology is the coolest, though, in that world. No, I'm not wrong. There's a part of us that, only feels satisfied when we're using our insights to create something new. There's some very talented INFJs. This one only writes bad poetry. But, it's something, I think, right? because I can't draw. I never could draw. However, as INFJs, we're not your typical free-spirited artists. Inside, we're more like a scientist, always studying and analyzing. INFJs walk effortlessly between the worlds of art and reason. Like I said, we like to know the meanings behind songs. We like things that have, an extensive vocabulary, deep meaning, but we want to know what that is. We want to get to the root of, art and music and the meaning behind it and the message it's trying to portray. So, we crave, I'll end with this one. We crave deep connections but struggle to open up. Oh yeah, big time. Few other personality types crave the level of depth and emotional intimacy in their relationships that INFJs do. Yeah, most of us suffer the curse of being a demisexual. I certainly do. However, ironically, INFJs tend to struggle to open up to others. Private and reserved we are. INFJs keep a lot to ourselves. It's a rare occurrence when an INFJ makes a meaningful connection they seek. Yeah, because there's just not that many people that understand us. I mean, especially I would say by, if not your mid, your late 20s, an INFJ knows what they're looking for. And more than likely, it's going to be something not as rare as us, especially if you're a male INFJ, but it's going to be something rare and hard to find. And to find it is going to be hard. And of course, if we do find it, then we're going to be like, this is my only shot, and holy shit, and I got to overthink the hell out of this before I make my move. It's like disarming a bomb as not to screw it up because this is your only shot. And this is the mentality. I've been in this state of mind in my younger days. It's not pleasant. And we feel like, we're not good enough and that we have to, to take our shot to make that meaningful, deep connection, to put ourselves out there. It has to be perfect, that timing, that everything has to be, and it never is. So that leads us to not take our shot kind of thing. And that's paradoxical in itself because as hard as it is to find someone that can potentially be that deep connection and then to not take the shot for whatever reason is madness, and I suggest you take the shot because if nothing else, if you fail, you can say you tried, and that what if shit won't haunt you because that definitely haunts us too. So here's some examples of why the INFJ is a contradiction. Please like and subscribe, comment, and, always trust your intuition when taking a shot or with your contradictions. Trust your intuition when your intuition's contradicting itself, if that makes sense. And, never sell out your integrity. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for others. Help others. And, to the old boys club.